how do you say it? This is making rock and roll after Hendrix, right? Like you have to know Hendrix, or I don't know what's a good example, right? But it's like the
It's
more that
very
you
good.
understand this system, the more you understand the trade-offs that other people made in order to adapt and actually right, like what are the trade-offs that people made and how they're working. But everyone is basically every sort of crypto that exists right now is in some sense a response to the engineering solution that came from Bitcoin.
Man, I can tell you're like ready. So I'll give a quick bio. Welcome, everybody. This is Javi from Valorize DAO. Javi is a software dev and technical communicator, falling in love with the idea of open source programmable money. He was just saying back in 2014 he entered the space, and he's been involved long enough to see through several of the cycles or the transformations, iterations of the blockchain tech. Currently, he's working on Valorize DAO, which is an open source tool. Their mission is to advance the technologies that improve human collaboration. And this includes designing and building out governance token standards, which anyone can go to their app and implement without having to actually know or write the code themselves. So very cool project he's building. We're going to be posting all his socials and everything at the end of class. Please go give him some knowledge chain love. Give him a shout out. And just some brief kind of school announcements before we start. On Friday, I will give a class on what the heck happened with Terra Luna. Very detailed, in-depth. We'll even go through some of the conspiracy theories that are floating around the internet right now. Tonight's top XP earner will earn a little bit of Bitcoin sent from me straight to you. And I promise not to tell the IRS. And last but not least, for our objectives, if you scroll all the way down on the left-hand side and you see that an objective has been posted, I see that Matthew posted an objective tonight. You can put a screenshot of that in complete objectives, and we will grant you some XP. So with all that out of the way, appreciate you being here, Javi. Welcome, everyone. Let's get into Bitcoin 201 from a dev's perspective.
Yeah, thank you. That's a nice intro. Yeah, so I was saying earlier, like I feel like a lot of people understand the concepts about Bitcoin, and I'm hoping that you'll leave this session with a little bit deeper knowledge of like the internal mechanics of it. I do also hope to make this kind of like a longer sort of recurring series. There's a lot, right? In some sense, some people uh, even I make content on TikTok, and some people even talk about Bitcoin as though it's kind of outdated, this old system that is not even relevant anymore, which I find hilarious, right? Whereas if you say someone that's like over 50 that you're invested in Bitcoin, they will say, "Wow, you got to be very careful. That's a really risky investment." And if you say to someone that's under 20 that you're invested in Bitcoin, they'll tell you that you are a dinosaur and that you're going to be left behind because this is like old technology that doesn't even matter. Um, Not quite, but there is this kind of narrative which I think is completely misguided. So we're going to give a little bit of overview about the system, and hopefully you'll learn a few things that you didn't quite know before. Right? So, we have to start with what it is. I assume that everyone here has gotten some kind of introduction to blockchains and has done the thing, like um, a lot of explanations of what is Bitcoin start with what is money, what is value, and like they go, you can start from the very beginning of humanity, right? But we're not going to quite do that, but we are going to give a brief overview of this thing. So I came up with this definition. Satoshi called it a peer-to-peer digital cash, and this is, yeah, like this is what I how I think of it, right? It's a protocol for trustless digital peer-to-peer value transfer. And we're going to break that down. And so first question that I would like to hear from people is what comes to mind when you hear the word protocol? And there's no wrong answers in this one. You can put something in the chat. Like the Terminator and the Matrix had a baby. That's funny. Yeah. Anything else? And process of instruction model. I don't know. I don't know what that is.
You guys gotta complete class. Go into class chat and answer the questions. Top winner is the only one that gets Bitcoin tonight. So, just a little incentive to participate.
A standard for an operation and or process. Like how it is done. Yeah. Anything else? Think vending machine analogy. Can I repeat the question? The question's in the screen. What comes to mind when you hear the word protocol? Yeah, so a vending machine, right? Like a vending machine is kind of I don't know if you would call that exactly a protocol, but you put in some money, you press some things, and you get something in return. Something standard, yeah. And I like what non-fungible cats here says, which is a standard for an operation or a process. Because sometimes we think of like, oh, what's the protocol when I start a new job, or what's the protocol, if I'm meeting my girlfriend's or my boyfriend's parents for the first time. It's just kind of like what are the rules? Like how do we communicate? And that's really what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is creating a protocol, so it's making kind of a set of rules that allow anyone to communicate with it. The next word in that is trustless, right? We understand what trust is, so this is without that. We have the ability to verify instead of trusting. I see surfing cowboy saying that it's a collective memory, sort of. You can talk about it like that. It's kind of what I like to think of it as, like the unspoken rules in social situations. You could say that that's a protocol, but in technology, it's much more strongly defined. When we're talking about protocols in technology, like the USB port is a protocol. So each computer that you have, like a USB plug or a USB-C plug, it's an update on that protocol. Each computer that implements that protocol can connect to every other piece of hardware that also implements that protocol, if that makes sense. So like if it has the USB slot, then anything with a USB, you can plug it in, because the way that those two things communicate are standardized, and that is the protocol. And it's trustless. It's digital. Let's see that. Let's go back. So it's like a friend group covering tabs for each other, and the layout all amends at the end of the semester, so that everything is even. Yeah, that gets to like one specific thing. I guess to one specific thing, but when we're talking about protocols here, that's one application. But in general, just a protocol is a way that that you can communicate without having to know what the other party is doing with that communication. So like I think USB-C is a good example of a protocol, because a USB-C could be a charger, or it could be a monitor, or it could be a hard drive, or You know, it could be a bunch of other things, and they're using the same protocol to connect from the hardware of your computer to the hardware of like the external accessory that you have. It's trustless. I think this one's a little bit easier to understand. But really, in cryptography, there's this phrase that says trust, or that says verify, don't trust. And this is what we're trying to do. It's digital, meaning that it doesn't have a physical characteristic. Right. Most money today actually works in a digital fashion. There is no sort of physical characteristic back in it. But um, but in some sense, because we can hold cash and things like that, we assign it this kind of like reality that it doesn't have. But it's purely digital, and it's peer to peer. And I want to ask again, what comes to mind when you hear peer? And it doesn't have to be a technical term, or just like that word peer. What brings to mind? Person to person. That's a really good one. Yeah. Pirate Bay comes to mind, right? Port. And I think non-fungible cats here is talking about it being digital but has double spend issues. He's talking about money, and yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the double spend issue. But yeah, what when you say someone is your peer, what do you say? What do you mean by that? This is really crucial in how we're defining this system. Yeah, because port has to do with the technical definition, but I want kind of like the broader definition. Someone in your age group or demographic, says Becca Bot. Yeah, that's quite right. Someone you can communicate back and forth with. That's a little more on the technical side. Yeah, but this idea of like someone of your age group demographic, does someone else have any other definition? I see a few people are typing. Somebody with a similar status as me. Groups or individuals in your specific line of work or social status or age. Yeah, those are excellent. Now I was meaning port as harbor, and probably I shouldn't said this. Interesting. Oh yeah, I hear port. I think computer networking port. Normal person hears port and they think as a harbor. That makes sense. Status inferring to similar relationship. Yeah. Okay, so that's exactly what I wanted to say. Peer has this definition that says that like that it's someone of your same status, right? Like a hierarchical relationship is a teacher-student relationship, or like a boss-employee relationship, so on and so forth, where there's a clear hierarchy um, in this thing. But a peer-to-peer relationship, no one has a higher status in the hierarchy, and that's the most crucial aspect. So when you say Sean Penn Jr. Crypto, when you say Pirate Bay, that's what that network does, right? Like the Pirate Bay network allows any computer to connect, and it's not like you're downloading from iTunes, which iTunes is like the server that everyone downloads things. In the Pirate Bay, you connect to this network, and your computer has the same status as every other computer in this network. And that's a really crucial thing that we have to get to when we get to Bitcoin. And the last is that it's a value transfer, right? So it's a protocol for trustless digital peer-to-peer value transfer. And value transfer means that we can transmit value over this protocol. So we'll get into how exactly that plays out. Everyone good with that definition so far? Does it make sense? We'll explain it more. But is this that sound good? get into what it means. First, we're going to start with the problem that it solves, and non-fungible cats mentioned that it's the double spend problem. And the double spend problem is something really similar. Like if Bob sends a payment to John, and what stops Bob from sending the same thing to Anna, right? Remember, in information, digital things can be copied and pasted, right? So if you have a payment, you can copy and paste that payment. And how is Anna going to know that you didn't send that money, that you didn't spend that money already, right? That's the core thing in computers. Like the great opportunity of computers is that everything is replicated a million times over, right? Like you can, if I have a song and I send you the song, we both have a song. If I have a photo album, I can send you the photo album, and we both have the photo album, and you can send it, and now it just gets replicated. Yes. So the way that we usually handle this, and the way that banks handle this, and the way that your credit card handles this, is just by keeping a record, right? It's like John has $1, Bob has $1, and if he's sending it to John, you remove that dollar from Bob's account and you add it to John's account. It's not like rocket science, right? You just keep track of the payments that we've done, right? So if I try to send the same thing to Anna, the bank will be like, wait, what are you trying to do? You don't have that money, right? Because they have the record, and the ultimate source of truth is that bank. Nice to have you here, Rebel. So the bank is the one that is keeping this record. But remember, we are doing this in a peer-to-peer system, right? With a bank, we're talking about a hierarchical system. Like if there is a dispute between Bob and John, you take it in with the bank. You don't deal with it with each other. But in a peer-to-peer system, we all have to agree on the state, on the current state of the transactions. We all have to agree whether Bob has enough money to send to John or to Anna. Okay, so let's get into how this process actually works. So you can do that through copying every single person's. Like if everyone has the entire state of the transactions, if everyone knows that Bob has $1, right, and everyone has the same information, that's one way that you can deal with this. Right. So if I send to Anna, right, I do this transaction where Bob, my balance gets reduced. Bob's balance gets reduced by 1, and Anna's balance gets added 1, and then we basically communicate with the entire network that this is the new state of the entire network, right? So then this is how actually Bitcoin starts looking. Once you create a transaction in the Bitcoin network, you basically broadcast that transaction to the entire network, and that transaction gets spread until every node gets an active copy of the new state of the entire network. Can you think of what are some issues that happens if everyone is just trying to send transactions to each other in a network like Bitcoin, right? If it's completely peer-to-peer, there is no hierarchy, there is no ultimate source of truth, and we all have to agree on this current state of the transactions. Can we think of what are some issues that come up with this system? And yeah, drop it in the chat. Congestion, outliers. Interesting. Congestion. Yeah, those are some. Peer-to-peer networks tend to be okay. Things not thought through completely. Let's see. Non-fungible cat says, so each bank has their own ledger, which means each bank is their own source of truth. Multiple sources of truth are an issue because they didn't communicate in real time. There is a lag. This is why check payments can be floated. You can. That's really true, and that's kind of at the heart of what we're doing. Okay, so this is why check payments can be floated. You can take money out of your bank account, but because there is a float, you can still write a check and potentially cash it at another bank or with another retailer. And this is a well-known thing. Yes, if you send something peer-to-peer, you could just send the same file to someone else peer-to-peer. Yes. So actually, there's three main problems: the congestion and the efficiency of the network that we can get into. I didn't label it as one of them. Peer-to-peer networks tend to be okay, but there is yes, LimeWire, exactly. LimeWire, Pirate Bay, they all work in this way. So we're going to talk about three problems that are the ones that Bitcoin is solving. Right? It takes time to propagate things. So let's see. I think someone said it. So they said slower operations. So the nodes can get out of sync easily, right? So and then the transactions can be out of order. Who gets to choose which order of the transactions? Right? That's another issue. And we still haven't really figured out the double spend problem. Like, we removed the bank, but we actually added a bunch of headaches, right? Because it's really easy when there's one source of truth and we can use to verify. But if everyone has to agree on the source of truth, then it gets kind of unwieldy. Let's see, LimeWire. We're having a discussion about LimeWire in the chat, which was a great system where you would give your computer answer and aids in order to listen to Blink 182 was how that system worked. But these three issues are the things that the Bitcoin deals with, and let's get into how it solves them. So hopefully this isn't completely new to you. I basically assumed that you were coming in here with a little bit of background work on it, on this. This is hopefully not the first time that you ever heard about this. And now we're discussing Blink 182 versus Sum 41. I was actually an Offspring kid. That was my jam. But yeah. Ooh, and Gorillas. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Nice. 90s retro vibe. I should be playing some 90s retro music on the back of this. But anyway, let's get into what is proof of work. Hopefully, up until now, this was more of a review than the first time that you're seeing this, because I'm not going in depth, and I'm hoping that you have something. This is why I call this class Bitcoin 201, because I wanted to get to the meat of it. Right. If it is your first time, there's a lot of resources to get acquainted with the Bitcoin system that goes into it more in depth, and that can sort of break this down in a more beginner-friendly way. I was just these three questions that I post here are basically the three things why proof of work makes sense. And so let's get into what is proof of work. Right. So when you're sending, if you're sending transactions to a node, you can do this thing, right, where instead of worrying about the entire state of the entire network, right, as a node in the Bitcoin system, you can just worry about transactions that you know are correct and are according to the protocol. So you don't actually worry, like a Bitcoin node, a Bitcoin miner doesn't actually need to worry about the state of the entire network. because it only needs to worry about the transactions that it knows. And the way that it does this is by going to a pool, is basically grabbing transactions from a pool of unconfirmed transactions. So for this part, can you go to this URL? Oh, hold on. I'm gonna mute myself. Can you go to this URL and post an image of the pool of unconfirmed transactions?
Can you go back to the previous slide so we can see that URL? There it is. Thanks.
Is that good?
Yeah, give me 2 seconds, guys, and I'll post that in chat.
Yeah, so that's a little assignment. So basically there's, if you want a transaction, you send a transaction to one of these nodes, and then you just create a pool of all these transactions. So let's take a snapshot of that pool, what it actively looks like right now.
And if you guys want to snapshot that, screenshot that, however you do it, post that in chat for a little XP.
Nice. Okay, I see one. This is. Oh, wait.
Nice, Peter. Nice, Matthew. Nice, Becca.
Right. Okay, so here we see, and if you just look at this, you'll notice that like these transactions keep they keep moving. So you'll see some for 6,000, some for 50, some for $10. Yeah, so I see that you're getting it. Perfect. So instead of kind of broadcasting, I mean, the transactions are broadcast to the network, but there is a pool of unconfirmed transactions that basically each node has access to the same pool. And what each node is doing at the meantime, it's just collecting some of those transactions, and then it's solving a puzzle. Is everyone here familiar with Sudoku, or is someone that is completely unfamiliar with Sudoku in this place, in this lesson? Okay, so Sudoku is a puzzle, and the way that it works, let me pull up a Sudoku puzzle. Sudoku is a great example of the type of computation that that each node in the Bitcoin network is doing. So let's see here, yeah. And it looks like this. And so if I gave you this, the rules of Sudoku is that you have to fill out, and each one of these 9 squares has to have a number of 1 through 9, and that number can't repeat. But the kicker is that that number also can't repeat on the same line, either horizontally or vertically. It's not incredibly important, the rules of Sudoku, but there is one quality about Sudoku that is very important. Now, when you're playing Sudoku, solving the puzzle actually takes a long time, right? But if those familiar with Sudoku, they will know that if I show you a puzzle like this, verifying that it was solved correctly, that is actually, you can do that really quickly. right? So you basically have to see, okay, there's only one in this quadrant, and there's no other one in this line or this line. So you can do this for every number, and it doesn't take too long to verify that you solved a Sudoku puzzle correctly, or at least it doesn't take as long to verify it. Then it takes much longer to solve it than it does to verify it. Right. So that's why I use Sudoku, because it has this property. Because each node is solving basically one kind of like advanced Sudoku puzzle in the Bitcoin network. And once a node sort of discovers the answer to that puzzle, I guess it's an important thing to say that like the nodes, each node in this peer-to-peer network is solving the same puzzle, is trying to solve the same puzzle. But once someone solves it, they basically get to decide which transactions from this pool of unconfirmed transactions that we just posted on the screenshot, they get to decide which transactions are going to be included in the next block. Mine with a picture of mining, actually a picture of 100,000 of a town to hold that at the same time. Yep, non-fungible cat posted a funny summary of kind of what I'm talking about. So basically, there's this pool of transactions, but once you solve, you get to decide which transactions get included in the block. Now, can we go to this URL and the assignment is, can you find out how many transactions were included in the latest block that just got mined? So this is the URL. This is not the latest URL because the block keeps changing. But if you go to blockchain.com, you can surely find the latest Bitcoin block. And what I want you to find is the number of transactions that were included in the latest block. So Rebel 1997 is asking, what's the average time to solve one of those puzzles? Are we talking about seconds, minutes? The average time is actually 10 minutes in Bitcoin, and this is because the faster you are at solving the puzzle, the harder it gets. That way, it always stays at 10 minutes. So there's a lot of people with really fancy computers solving this puzzle. It'll just get harder. It'll just keep expanding. The Sudoku puzzle will keep expanding. And the time depends on the hash rate of the miner. Yes, so the difficulty will adjust so that with the current hash rate, the puzzle will take 10 minutes to solve. Okay, so did anyone find how many transactions were included in the latest block? If you go to blockchain.com/btc/blocks, so let me actually update this URL here. So you see it better here. I'm going to change the URL because this is the URL that we want. Find the latest block and tell me how many transactions were in there. So Matthew NFT, you said 264,000. That seems a little bit high. I have a different number. So, okay, I'll post the link in the chat here. And you have 2057. That's what I have on block number 735997. Yeah, that looks correct to me. So if you go to like this Bitcoin Explorer, you can see the latest block of transactions. And if you go to the transactions, you'll see that it tells you how many transactions were included in here. 2057. I got the same. And if you scroll down, you will see all the transactions that were included. Right? There's quite a bit of transactions included in a block, but 2,000, it's not a crazy amount. 2,000 every 10 minutes, it's not a really high amount.
Hey, thanks for the likes, James.
Yes, okay. So Matthew NFT, I think you got 21C88. Yeah, that looks the same. The same to me. Yes, yes, yes. So this block happens to have 2057 transactions, and it's all in here. Okay, good job, good job. Nice. Right. So remember, a Sudoku puzzle is easy to verify that it was done correctly, right? So once you have the answer, you broadcast the solution to everyone else in the network, right? And once you have the solution correctly, you basically say to everyone else in the network, okay, these are the transactions that I choose for this next block, and here is the solved puzzle. Oh, sorry about that. Right. So you basically broadcast to the entire network this list of transactions and then this solved puzzle. And everyone verifies it. Everyone verifies it. And so because it's faster to verify than it is to figure out what it is. Thank you, Becca, for the bless you. So it's easy for each node to verify the puzzle, much easier than it is to find out what the answer to the puzzle is. So you basically broadcast the transaction. Everyone can confirm that you solved the puzzle correctly. And basically they accept your transactions as the newest block. Now, there is one transaction that is called the Coinbase transaction, because every time when you introduce a new block to the blockchain, and we'll get into like the blockchain where that term comes from, but every time you introduce a new block to the blockchain, you get one special transaction that is called the Coinbase transaction, that is basically a Bitcoin transaction from nothing to you. So you want to solve this puzzle in order to get that first transaction, which is called the Coinbase transaction, that prints new Bitcoins into existence. Okay. Can you find the Coinbase transaction in the latest block? If you were there, I think someone already posted the link. Can you find the Coinbase transaction for the latest block?
I just want to quickly repeat that for the people in the back. There is only one Highlander. There is only one machine or one solution that gets rewarded. And right now the reward per block, based on the way that it works, is 6.25 Bitcoin. That was very weird for me when I first heard that. So that is truth. That's how it works. Now, all of these machines are all plugged into what they call mining pools, which I assume we'll talk about in a little bit, so that they share that reward. But that is a true kind of thing that I don't know if that shocked you, that's the first time you're hearing it. But one ASIC solves that Sudoku puzzle. and gets rewarded 6.25 Bitcoin spread evenly among the mining pool that it's participating in every 10 minutes or so. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just thought that was fascinating when I first heard that.
Right. And it's also cool to see where the name Coinbase comes from. Do you know what else is called Coinbase? Have you heard of the small company that posted a $400 million loss this earnings report? So how many miners are there in a company? It really depends. There's a few, like Champagne was saying, there's a few mining pools because people basically work together to solve the Sudoku puzzle, and it can vary a lot. I don't know exactly offhand how many miners there are. Okay, I see some people seeing the newly generated coins, the Coinbase transaction, right? And it's always about 6.75. Somewhere around there.
6.25. So when it first started out, the first block that was mined by Satoshi himself. It's called the Genesis block. And the reward back then was 50 Bitcoin. And then every 4 years, roughly, or 210,000 blocks, they have what's called a halvening event, which is built into the code. It's actually just 2 lines of code, which is simplistic beauty. But it just means that the amount of rewards per solving that Sudoku is halved. So first it was 50. At the first halvening event, it became 25. At the second halvening event, it became 12.5. And we're now at the fourth, actually, iteration, which is 6.25. The next halvening event is in about 700 days. And we'll see rewards drop to 3.125. Is that right, math? 3.125 Bitcoin. Sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting. That was fascinating to me the first time I learned that. I was very like, wait, what?
Yeah. So basically, everyone is racing to solve the Sudoku puzzle because whoever gets to solve the Sudoku puzzle gets to put the first transaction that says, oh, and I'm 6.5 Bitcoin or 6.25 Bitcoins richer, right? So everyone's incentivized to do it. And this process of solving these difficult puzzles is called proof of work. But I said it was Bitcoin 201, and we are not satisfied with just saying, oh, it's kind of like they're solving Sudoku puzzles. We're going to get into it. Okay, I see some people typing. So yeah, let me know if there's any more questions before we move into the actual puzzle that they're solving.
And if you're having trouble finding that Coinbase one on the screen that Javi was sharing before, just scroll down to where it says block transactions, and it will tell you the hash of the actual Coinbase.
Yeah, so if you go to the Bitcoin Explorer, if you go to any block, it should be the first transaction. So if someone would make a superminer with 5,000 hash rate, then it would always solve it first. Yes, that is correct. So if you have a supercomputer that can solve hashes, that can solve Sudokus faster than everyone else, then yes, you would always win, theoretically. So 6.25 goes to the miner that gets to solve the puzzle, just the first one to solve it correctly. That's basically your reward for solving the puzzle. The question is if the 6.25 goes to all miners or to only the ones that solved it correctly. And the answer is only those who solved it correctly, because that is your reward for solving it correctly. You get that as a reward. The other thing that you get as a reward is that you get to choose the order of transactions. So you get to pick and choose which transactions go into this next block. And as we said before, there's only about 2,000 transactions that get to fit in a block, and that's due to the block size, which we will not get into why that decision was made just yet. But hopefully in a future lesson, we'll get why that limit was put in place. Let's see, I see some questions coming up. Why doesn't somebody make it? Yeah, why doesn't someone make a car that beats a Lamborghini? right? Or why doesn't someone, it's like people try, people are doing it. That's the answer of why doesn't someone make it. They're trying to do it.
If you're not aware, that's what Litecoin and Bitcoin Satoshi's vision, which I shouldn't have even brought up, but Bitcoin Cash, created by Eric Voorhees, they just changed the block sizes. And it's like, hey, look, here's this new Bitcoin thing. If you missed out on first Bitcoin, here's this new one that's better than Bitcoin because we changed the block sizes. But I'll let Javi get into that in another class.
Yeah, the block sizes basically means how many transactions fit in the block or how many bytes. Yes. Okay. Now, let's get into, instead of saying Sudoku puzzles, let's get into what this is actually doing. Right? What we're actually doing here. And the secret sauce for Bitcoin is this thing called the hashing algorithm. It's actually not a Bitcoin specific thing. Hashing algorithms are used all the time. They're used to verify that software hasn't been tampered with. They're used to verify the integrity of data. And they're really handy functions that have really useful properties. Let's get into how it looks like. A hashing algorithm is just a function that you take an input that takes any input, you run it through this black box, which is called a hashing function, and it gives you an output that is always the same length. So if I run this string, as we call it, this sentence through a hashing function, I will get the following hash. And this is what a hash looks like. FAD288, whatever, 73CA.
We can't see that on your screen.
Oh, really?
There we go.
Oh,
thanks.
Okay. So let me go back a little bit. Right. So you take input data, you run it through a hashing function, and you get a fixed length output. And this is what this test input for hash. If you run this string through the hashing function that Bitcoin uses, this is the output that you get. And now a hashing function has a property, much like Sudoku puzzles, that it's easy to verify and difficult to reverse. So going from a random string to its hash, it's extremely easy, it's extremely cheap. Going backwards from a hash, it's impossible, basically. It's practically impossible. And we want this. Definition. I see we have a definition here in the chat. And yeah, a hash function is a function that can be used to map data of arbitrary size to fixed size values. The values returned are called a hash. Correct. And hashing comes from hash browns, because a hash brown is a set of potatoes.
Turn that off for a second.
That you
and
cut,
Maggot,
slice, fry,
you're totally
dice,
welcome to
put it in a
this
pan,
class. It's totally free, and
it's impossible to reverse back to the potato.
A little bit of whatever crypto we're talking about. We're talking about Bitcoin
right
now. So
you cut, slice the data in a certain way, and you get
Feel
this.
free. You can go to my there.
I think it's British, so it's not actually hash browns.
Go to my bio, anyway. And it's the top link in my bio. Knowledge.
The hashing function has another property, which is that collisions
you can ask the
are highly unlikely. They're not impossible. So
I am going to shut down the live in a couple of minutes, just so
will not map to the same output.
But feel free to join in. We talk about NFTs. We talk about different blockchains.
Right, so this is actually a really useful
projects in the ecosystem. We talk about proper marketing
technology, because you can actually put, it doesn't matter how big the input data is.
No shilling, no bias.
You can actually
opinions, just
put
straight
like
facts about the tech. So appreciate
Kendrick
you guys
Lamar's
being
entire
here.
discography.
I will see you
and
in
then
Discord.
Tomorrow, because Kendrick is releasing a new album, the hash will update.
You learn.
But sorry. Well, so let's say Shakespeare. You can put all of Hamlet into a hashing function, and it'll give you the same length, the same output always. It'll give you something that is this length, and it'll verify. And if you run Hamlet through the same hashing function, it'll always give you the same output. However, if you add one extra period, if you add one extra space, or if you add one extra letter, or you capitalize one letter, the hash is completely different. So this is really useful in computer science to verify that the data that you are looking hasn't been tampered with. So if I give you a hash of something, you can verify for yourself that this data always hashes to this hash. Okay. Now, can we let's see, let's share like SHA-256 schedule. Okay, we're running a little late, so let's go to this tool. We're gonna try to put your Discord name into that hashing function. So you see input. So copy and paste your username and put it into the hashing function.
Can you share that the screen? You're on your Figma still.
Yeah. So
beautiful.
Okay.
Would you mind copying and pasting that? Oh,
yeah, I put it in the
right
chat.
there. Perfect.
The chat. Yeah. Okay, so Matthew put something. Mine hashes to this. Nice. Okay. So let's verify it. So Happy Meal number 2892, I have it. Is that what you hashed? So let's see. The answer that I got for mine was, okay, yeah, let's see. Sean Penn Jr. Crypto. Let's copy yours to see if I get the same thing. 4753 and it ends with F0. Let's see what you put. 4753 and it ends with F0. Yeah. Okay, now Happy Meal number 2892. Now let's try it. 717. Oh no, or is it just was it just Happy Meal? 1DFI. I'm not getting the exact one, but let's see. Matthew NFT put one. Right, so we can use this to verify whether the data that someone is putting into the hashing function is correct. Okay, so I'll be running a tiny bit late.
That's fine. Take your
now
time.
Here is a new assignment. I want you to find a random piece of data that hashes to a value that starts with a 0 followed by a number. Okay? So the hash must start with a 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, up to 0, 9 or 0, 0. So you can basically mash things into the hashing function generator and see if someone can paste in the chat something random that'll hash to something with a 0, 1, 0, 2, etc. And we'll all verify it together. And I put the SHA-256 thing in there. Is everyone trying?
Can you give the directions again for us one more time? So we're going to go to that link that was posted, the github.io link, to find that SHA-256. Nice, Chad.
Yeah. Okay, so you have two numbers. You have two numbers together. I wanted the first number to be 0 and the second letter to be a number. Can we try to do that? So basically, it's like you're gonna just find a random piece of data that hashes to see. This is 3A. I want 0, 0, 1, 0, 2. So you can like try anything. You can just like, let's see, this one is 0D. Oh, okay, nice. Matthew got something. So he got 5841554. 03. Nice, nice. Oh, looks like Champagne Jr. did OPE. And you get a 0B9. Nice. Okay, let's see. 2A. I see that you're doing your Discord username hashed. Yeah, so this one, 5814155, that gives you a hash that has a 0 and a 3 after it. Nice. That's exactly what I was trying to get at. So cool. Now we're gonna change this. We're gonna make it even harder. Here's what we're gonna do. No, we're gonna skip this one. Now. Okay. We're gonna find a number, and we need everyone to work together. So say which number you're gonna start with, because we're gonna want a number with we're gonna want a hash that starts with 0, 0, 2 zeros. So actually, that's quite hard to do. A hash that starts with 2 zeros. We're gonna start by putting new block as the first word, like this. And we're going to try going from 1 to 2. So say which number you're going to start with. Put in the chat which number you would like to start with.
Can you show your screen again? You're still on the Figma.
Ah, okay. So, but do you see here where it says new block 1, new block 2?
Ah, I see, yes.
So we're going to basically put this as the input. New block 420. Angel started with 420. Yeah, so pick a number from 1 to 100 and start adding it to this word new block. So I want you to go like this. So this new block like this, and then you go 1. If that doesn't work, go 2, 3. Let's
somebody do the 40s for me. I'll do the 30s. Somebody else do the 20s.
This 6, 7. Looks like none of these have a double 0. You know, Fungible Cats is in the 60s. I'll start with 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. You see what we're doing? 20, 21. Let's see, new block 62 hashes to something that has 2 zeros. Wow.
Whoa.
All right. Non-Fungible Cats started with the 60s and he got it. You can actually have a computer do this for you. It's much faster, and a computer can run a lot of hashes at the same time. Let's see.
Comes by.
Nice. Okay, so Champagne Jr. looks like you're confirming. If you run new block 62 through a hashing function, you get 2 zeros in front. Nice. I see it here. I can confirm it myself. Everyone else confirmed it on their SHA 256 calculator.
Go ahead and type new block 62. Verify that it's got a 00 hash output, and post that in chat for us.
Yeah. So make sure that it's that it doesn't have capital letters. I'm literally just putting, like, try to copy it as much as you can here. Nice, nice. Okay, yeah, I see some new block 62s coming in. Good job. Okay. Okay. Now, this number that we're adding, this number from 1 to 100, we call this a nonce. That's the technical term for it. And it's just a random piece of data that we can add to something in order to just like add some randomness to it. So let's get into what a block. No, nonce. Let's get into what a block actually looks like. This is a Bitcoin block that you're seeing in front of you. It's not super fancy. It's not anything like that. But it's also not incredibly complex.
Sorry, we
Like
need you
there's
back
a
on
lot
your
of
Figma.
yeah. Can you see my screen on the Figma?
Oh, there we go. Yep.
Yeah. Because I got a little bit of a lag. So anyway, we see that this block hashes. You know, we see it right here. We see. Oh. Yeah, so we see here's the hash. We see a couple things like the transactions. Then we see here this thing called a nonce, right? So the nonce in this block was 92,415. Oh no, 924,591,752. So this is different. This is different than a nonce on Ether. But yes, it's the same term. But what you're talking about clearing the transactions, that's slightly different. Ether uses accounts, whereas in Bitcoin that doesn't exist. In Bitcoin there is no account nonsense. But anyway, that gets a little bit deeper. So you see that this block has a hash, and this hash is basically the hash of this, all of this of this entire block. Okay, so find out give me can anyone find the hash of the latest block? And the question is, how many zeros does the latest block have? Find the hash first, and then tell me how many zeros it has, okay? Of the latest Bitcoin block. I see Keith is posting, yes. And we're nearing the end. Okay. Yeah, so I see this 2C1 000. So it's 182. Yeah, so Matthew NFT, I see that you put the 000 block. I don't have the same thing on mine. I have a different block. And you find in this in the Bitcoin Block Explorer. Let's see. I'll send you the latest. Yes. Okay. So Happy Meal. Yeah, I see something right there that has like a bunch of zeros. How many zeros does it have? 19. Nice. Okay. So Matthew, you have 19. Let's see. Happy Meal. Yours says 182. Am I getting the same one? Yeah, it looks like I'm also getting this one with 182. 182 and then DC4. Yeah. So you see that the block has 19 zeros, right? Now this is what we call the difficulty in Bitcoin. When we say when we're saying that Bitcoin blocks are solving a puzzle, the puzzle that they're solving is not Sudoku, is finding a block whose output has, it's not quite that it has 19 zeros, because this is actually just a number. It's just a number that is written base 16, not base 10. And that's, that's why it has letters as well as numbers. But really, it's like find a hash with 19 zeros ahead of it, right? So this is the puzzle that people are doing. So basically, what each node is doing is basically seeing which transactions from the pool of unconfirmed transactions plus a random piece of data, which is called a nonce, gives you hashes to a hash with the desired properties. And that property is having a bunch of zeros ahead of it. And this adjusts based on the difficulty. So yeah, does that make sense a little bit? Like, this is the puzzle that people are solving.
If this is new information for you, give me a thumbs up in the chat. If you have never heard of the vocab word of the day, a nonce, and adding a random piece of data to the end to try to make your hash output correct, that's the puzzle that's being solved. That's how you get rewarded with that mining reward. If that's new information, give me a thumbs up. Yeah, I love that.
Nice. So this is a block, right? So a block hashes to something with a bunch of zeros in front of it. Here you see that it has the transactions that are included in this block. And here you see the nonce, right? 924,591,752. So they did what we were doing of like adding new block 1, 2, 3. They did that almost a billion times. And then the last piece of the puzzle, and then which we're nearing the end of it, is that they have the previous block hash as well, right? So if you have the previous block hash, you can do something really cool, because you can actually like link this block and link it here to the next block, and then this block you link it to the next block. And that's when we say that we're doing a block chain, right? This is how they're chained. This is how each block knows what the previous block was. And the reason that this is good is because this verifies that the previous block is valid, because its hash also has the desired properties. And the hash before that also has the desired properties, and so on and so forth. And that is where the word blockchain comes from, and that is sort of like how Bitcoin works. And this is like part 1 of my Bitcoin 201 series. So yeah, I hope that you all learned something, and I hope that it wasn't too much.
Can we get some clap emojis in the chat? That is so much information. That's so much to process. I would love to see you guys posting vocab words of the day in recess, when during the day when we're not having class. Just kind of redefine these terms, really reinforce them, teach newbies that are coming into this space. This is such great information. I really appreciate all this, Javi. Let's get some applause in the chat for him. Nice. Happy Meal. I love that gif.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, hopefully it wasn't too much, and definitely, I know sometimes it's hard because you don't know, like, if some of the information is above your head, you don't know what to ask, but I'm around, and you can feel free to reach out to me.
Oh no, Keith, I'm sorry, you just got timed out for following class instructions. Sorry about that, bud. All right, I'm going to post in chat right now a link to Valorize, which is Javi's project. Really cool project. You don't have to know how to code to go in and create a native governance token for your Discord, for your community. Thank you for removing that timeout, Matthew. But I would recommend you go join them. They do have a tokenomics workshop going on, that if you're more into the deep dives and into the technical side of things, I would highly encourage you to go explore and learn with them. Really kind of cool space they've created over there. And we will definitely be having Javi back for 202, Bitcoin 202.
Yeah, this was the easy class. It gets. No, I'm kidding.
Oh boy, my brain.
Yeah, I mean, right? Like it's amazing, right? Because actually, understanding what a hashing function is like a superpower in the crypto space. Um, understanding like how blocks are constructed and like how they're like what are the trade-offs that people are doing, like all these things. Like if you understand these, so many more things will make sense to you. And soon you'll be able to read a white paper and be like, oh yeah, duh.
If you have any questions, the mics have been unmuted. You're welcome to ask a question straight to Javi if you'd like.
Hey, so I was hoping like you could actually like put in, I guess to help illustrate like what the heck the actual puzzle is. So I guess if I understood it correctly, you'd be able to put in the if you put in the future transaction hashes, if you put it into that website you told us, it would decrypt into the prior transactions hash. Is that how I kind of understood it?
No. So it's basically like all of the information about the block, plus this nonce would hash to this hash that you see here. So it's basically all of the transaction plus the information about the block plus the nonce hashes to this. So this hash is kind of like a compression of all that.
Okay.
Of all that information. And it also, very importantly, has to include the previous block's hash. Because that's how you know, like because if you hash a hash, plus some new data, then you can guarantee the integrity of that data, right? You are not putting everything about the previous blocks in the new blocks. You're just putting the hash of the previous block, which has a hash of the previous block. And so basically you're compressing all that data to just this bit of information that is relevant, that ensures that it hasn't been tampered with.
Does it call profile pic? What's it called in Discord?
I didn't catch that.
Say that again, Keith.
Sorry, I was trying to talk to chat. I was unmuted.
Oh, all right.
What is it?
Just to answer your question, Javi's been in the space since 2014. He's a software dev, and he's the lead dev behind Valorize.
Awesome. Thank you.
Javi, thank you so very, very much. This was an incredible class. I'm very much looking forward to the next one.
And if you guys feel like, this is a lot of information, we will be posting this to the YouTube. You can watch it over again, really hone in on some of the areas that are maybe a little confusing for you. Feel free to ask questions in recess. This is a learning community, so we're all here for you. Just as some wrap-up announcements, I really quickly realized I had never announced the winners for our last Kahoot challenge. Just as a reminder, the Avalanche Kahoot challenge, based on last night's class, will close on Friday at midnight. So you have until Friday to get that in. Top learner will earn a little bit of that AVAX token. So you can start exploring the Avalanche ecosystem. And let me go to my reports. As of right now, it looks like Tahiti Crypto is going to win another bunch of AVAX. He already won last night. Chad Can't Be Beat is in second for that. But the winners of the Chainlink, congratulations to Leah, Chad, Elif, CT, Vatarax, Sean Penn Jr.'s dog, which is me, so never mind. Tahiti, Lolly, and DeFi Funk. We will make sure you get your XP awarded to you. And we will have a class on Friday what the heck happened with Terra Labs and why algorithmic stablecoins are different than asset-backed stablecoins. We'll be going in a little bit into the conspiracy theories that are floating around as far as Citadel and an intentional attack. We'll be going into why it depegged from the dollar and the price collapsed 90+% in 48 hours. Other than that, does anybody have any last questions, comments, concerns? Gripes, whines, moans?
No, I'm great, buddy.
Awesome. Again, let's get another round of applause for Javi in the chat. Really great class tonight. Appreciate you being here. Please do go join Valorize. I will post the link again in the class chat. Man, Happy's got the best gifts. Very, very nice. So I will see you all in class on Friday. And as we continue to bring on big brains like Javi in the space, if you know anybody that would want to consider themselves a subject matter expert, please feel free to invite them and have them reach out. We would love to have them. Class on Friday will begin at 9 p.m., 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Run it an hour later for those of you that came late to class today. I will write you down as tardy and put it on your permanent record. All right. So I just did. Yeah, don't worry, Keith. I'm just joking. I am that mean to my students in school, though. My mom will kill me. Don't get grounded. All right. I want you here every class. Don't get grounded. Just as kind of a lighter thing, if this is your first time going through a downtrend and entering a bear market, please don't, feel free to reach out if you're struggling or having any sort of mental health issues. Please feel free to reach out. This is something that is kind of inevitable in the space. It's called the market cycles, and it happens. So feel free to reach out. It's not the end of the world. I know it might feel like it, but patience is a virtue, and time in the market beats timing the market, in my opinion. So continue to have optimism. Bitcoin is not going anywhere. It's not going to zero like Dan Pena says it will. But just to announce the winner of tonight's Bitcoin giveaway, the tallies are in. The votes are in. Peter76, please DM me a Bitcoin wallet, and I will send some Bitcoin your way. Congrats to our valedictorian of tonight's class.
Nice.
That is so awesome. Congrats, Peter.
Woo woo.
I love that part of the learning is chance to win the crypto that you're winning.
Learn to earn model. That's what we're building. And I promise that on Friday I will not make you receive some Terra Luna. Or I'll tell you what, maybe I will, just so you could say that you were a part of it. All right. Well, it's been a great class. Great to spend time with you all. Appreciate you all being here. We will have Javi back. I will post in class chat or in class announcements when he is able to come back. And congrats to all those who earned their XP tonight, leveling your way up our system. And I will see you all on Friday. Friday.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thanks again, Javi.
Thanks for having me, and feel free to reach out with any questions or whatever if you want to talk.
Oh, I'm really grateful you came tonight. This was incredible.
All right. Bye, everybody. Have a great rest of your Wednesday night. Bye-bye now.